Logos are all around us, and some of them are so iconic and memorable that we can recognize them across a crowded street. Nintendo, more than most companies, needs a lot of logos for its games, for its consoles, and for its many and varied internal branches. But how has Nintendo's approach to logos been changing in recent years, and what could a future hold? Settle in for another Nintendo Forecast deep dive into Nintendo and logos. Okay, first up, we should probably get in our heads the principles of what makes a good logo. And these principles have changed over the years. Design 102 Team, a branding group which works for the UK government, advised a few key principles in a recent blog: simplicity, originality, timelessness, relevance to the brand and organization, functionality, meaning it can be used from billboards to business cards, and versatility, meaning it can work in black and white and up in neon lights just as well. As this infographic from Reddit shows, Nintendo's own logo has evolved over the years, from the early days representing its Japanese roots with a logo in hiragana to its 1950s redesign emphasizing the importance of playing cards. Subsequent redesigns became more frequent, with red becoming an important signature color. There were experiments with fonts, and I personally rather like the 1968 to 1970 font. There was even an ill-fated attempt to render the logo on Japan's second katakana alphabet before 1975 started the progression towards the modern and iconic Nintendo look. Since the dawn of the Famicom era in 1983, Nintendo has only had three different main logos, briefly going as grey as the audience had aspired to covet during the Wii era, before reverting to the bold white on red look in 2016. I wouldn't expect a change in this logo anytime soon, especially as Nintendo's iconic logo and red look is being used more and more in international contexts through films, theme park attractions, and stores, although Nintendo nevertheless does deploy variants of its iconic look quite regularly, especially when it needs a monochrome equivalent, such as with the Nintendo Museum. I should also point out that Nintendo archivist Yamafuda has managed to find a much broader range of logos being used through the years, although the trend is very clearly towards uniformity as time goes on. However, changes are afoot in Nintendo's development subsidiaries. When ND Cube rebranded in 2004 to become Nintendo Cube, it adopted a stark look of capitalized white text on a blue rectangle. The blue was new, but the look was not. Check out One Up Studios, formerly Brownie Brown, a long-time and wholly owned studio chiefly these days assisting on the big Mario titles. Same look, just with a green rectangle, and the overall look has been used elsewhere. Check out the logo of Nintendo Systems, a new subsidiary Nintendo recently started with Japanese mobile tech giants DNA. Now check out Nintendo Pictures, another recent subsidiary. Even the recent Nintendo Museum kept the same basic format, and this recent infographic from Nintendo's November presentation shows a range of similar looking Nintendo developer logos. Now, not all of Nintendo's branches are so relatively dull in their aesthetics. Retro studios, and particularly next-level games, retain their charm. For those who haven't played the Xenoblade series, suffice to say that the choice of the Kubrickian title and the logo of Monolith Studios has very deep and clever resonances with their content, and it would be a crying shame to see such artistry bleached out in the name of corporate conformity in terms of their logos. However, you might wonder why a company famed for its creativity such as Nintendo would have such seemingly dreary logos for some of its key development partners to begin with. However, there are good reasons for wanting this. For one thing, it saves a lot of money. Logos cost, and while top companies such as Enron and Pepsi are known for splashing eye-watering sums on their logo changes, even the dear old British Broadcasting Corporation in the UK found that with so many channels, radio stations, regional offices, and different departments, its ravenous need for logos was costing them £4,000 to £12,000 a time in today's money. Creative people are likely to be creative, and that's great, but especially with a company like Nintendo, they want the focus to be on the games, not flowery logos that distract from their core operations, and they also want to project a sense of uniformity. As for the move towards simplicity, this reflects a trend over recent years. Complex 3D logos like the N64's looked wowy in 1996 when polygonal graphics were a tantalizing taste of the future, but now that future is old hat, and 2D logos are much simpler and easier to scale across different media, from your smartwatch to a cinema screen. What then of the game logos? Of course, it's not a surprise that these change only rarely, since these logos are long-standing trademarks and are used widely across the broader media that Nintendo operates in, including toy tie-ins and such like. Still, there's a bit of Nintendo playfulness that can be detected here and there. For example, Super Mario has had an iconic multicolored look for a long time, and the games have tended to do their take on it. Still, the logos do contain some rather fun secrets. Take a look at the Super Mario Bros. Movie logo. Multicolored letters, the classic Mario font, just some other stuff around it. Now look at the Super Mario 3D Land logo. Yes, it's a bit more 3D-ish, but the basics are still the same. Hang on though, because here's the Super Mario 3D World logo. Something is different. And if you didn't spot it there, check out Super Mario Odyssey. And if you're not going, oh, you should be, because the O letter is changed. While it's traditionally green, Super Mario 3D World celebrated playable Peach with a pink letter, and Super Mario Odyssey marked Mario's newfound globe-trotting proclivities with a spinning globe in place of the O. I've not found any official recognition of this tomfoolery, but it shows that Nintendo is willing to be a little bit playful even today. Of course, most game logos are fairly standardized. Think Splatoon, Animal Crossing, or as I often do, Advance Wars, and most of these logos have stood the test of time. Even Super Mario Bros. Wonder, in trying to break free from the rather stultifying shadow of the new series, didn't really change its font at all, except for the obligatory trippy Wonder wording. The Legend of Zelda series probably has had the biggest changes, incorporating Zonai imagery, the Master Sword, and the Tri-Rod into recent game logos. Curiously though, if the remake of Link's Awakening and Echoes of Wisdom are any indication, they seem to be sticking with the more weathered look of the logo design from Breath of the Wild over the crisper, traditional Zelda logo with its bright and shiny red letters. I'm not exactly sure why this is, but I would guess that the weathered look of the letters looks more textured even in black and white, whereas the original logo really needs colour and a good quality print to make the 3D effect on the letters entirely clear. In other words, the weathered logo is just a lot more versatile. We should also take a moment to mention the Nintendo Music logo. This channel has spent a lot of time considering the relative value of different franchises, but never has it been more clearly rendered into a single image than this one. We have Mario in the center because he is literally the company icon, but the Zelda and Animal Crossing series are flanking him, embodied in the form of Link and Isabelle, with Tom Nook, though curiously no sign of Zelda herself. Then we have Splatoon and Pikmin coming up on the outside, two franchises that in particular have blown up big in Japan. And finally, on the very outside, the two franchises which have been more successful internationally, but in recent years have been more sleeper hits, Donkey Kong and Metroid. It almost seems like a 2D representation of their pantheon of franchises. Of course, my hunch is that within this overall design, we will probably see this updated in due course, especially if we move on eventually from the Breath of the Wild aesthetic for Link, but it's still a pretty cool representation of those Heartland franchises. If Nintendo do want to tweak their logos at all, the start of a new generation might be a good time to do so, but I suspect any changes will be subtle, like the Zelda tweaks, and probably designed to allow for the logos to be more flexible in their usage. Meanwhile, another key consideration is the branding colour Nintendo will use, and for that I'm going to direct you to this video on screen right now, which is a full deep dive on where Nintendo could be going next in regard to its branding colours. Thank you to everyone, shout out to my Patreon supporters, and I will see you next time for another Nintendo Forecast.